When I say Chianti, do waterbeds and these bottles with a bunch of dripping candle wax bring back memories? The world of Chianti's changed. Stay tuned. So this Chianti is what many of us probably grew up drinking, and we'd see it hanging from the ceilings of our favorite Italian restaurants, all bedecked with the red tablecloths. But Chianti's changed quite a bit today. That's what I want this episode to focus on. We're going to collect 3 Chiantis, all from Chianti in Italy, in the area of Tuscany. And we're going to look at a Chianti Classico, and a Chianti Riserva. Let's look at each one. So let's take a look at all 3 of the Chiantis I've lined up for you in this week's episode. And these should be easy to find, and that was my goal. I wanted to see if I could find the 3 levels of Chianti to share with you at my local grocery store, and I was successful. I found them. Well, let's take a look at the first one, which is just a Chianti. In fact, I mentioned this one in my pizza episode. So if you get a chance, check out the pizza episode where I recommend a Chianti. Now in Italy, as we've said in some other episodes, they tend to name their wines by where they're from. So in this episode, they're all from the Chianti region in Tuscany in Italy. But because this one just says Chianti on it, it doesn't mean it's inferior by any stretch of the imagination. It's just going to be the lightest in body. It's definitely going to have those sour cherry notes that I tend to think represent the Sangiovese grapes. But it's going to be the lightest, nice acidity, and I chose it to go with my red sauce pizza because it just goes so well with that type of food. And all of these wines that we're looking at this week's episode obviously are designed and enhance Italian food. But when I get down to this reserve, I'll give you some other options of some other food pairings you can have. So an unbelievable, affordable red wine to go with a whole host of foods would be a Chianti. This one happens to be from Gabbiano, but you'll find a whole host of different Chiantis out there. Again, $10 to $12 range. So if you're entertaining, I think for someone who's still maybe getting his or her feet wet when it comes to red wines, the Chianti is going to be a nice one. I think they'll like it, especially if you serve it with food. It does really help. And in the middle, we have, I'd probably say, the best value you can find of our 3 wines. Not too much more affordable than the Chianti, but remember this Chianti means the wine came from any of the areas in the Chianti region, except for the area between Florence and Siena. And since I'm also your wine guide, I strongly encourage you, if you haven't been to already, what an incredibly beautiful area of Tuscany. Florence and Siena are just breathtaking, not only for the art and the history, but you have the food and in easily walkable areas. So fantastic tourist destination. If you've been there, this is going to bring back fond memories. If you haven't been there yet, boy, try to put that on your bucket list of places to go. You're not really going to eat or drink any better. So if you get a chance to do that. So the Chianti Classico is going to be just a little bit more expensive. The wine, again, it's not better in a sense. It's going to be perhaps a bit more complex than just our Chianti was. But remember, we're serving this with a pizza. And with our Chianti Classico, we could up our game just a little bit. And we could have this with grilled food. We could have it with some of the harder cheeses, right? The Parmesan Reggiano. We could have it with heavier pasta dishes. I really enjoy a ragu with some fresh pappardelle pasta. or in some gnocchis with a heavy tomato sauce. I mean, so when the food gets a little heavier, maybe stick with the Classico over the Chianti that we started with. And you, again, can't go wrong. This is just, I think, one of the best of the wines that's easy to find, very affordable, incredible when it comes to food pairing. And that could be from Italian food. And tell you the truth, I made some grilled hamburgers the other day with my Chianti Classico, and I was very happy. So it does have some flexibility. It doesn't have to just be Italian food. And then the one over here is our Riserva. All three wines rely on the Sangiovese grape, 75% all the way up to 100% Sangiovese grape. And we're going to focus on Sangiovese a couple more episodes, just because it's one of my favorite Italian grapes. And when we talk about Brunellos, which will be on another episode, we come back to the Sangiovese grape. It's just going to come from a different area. And the way they make it is going to vary slightly. So the Riserva means it's probably aged for, say, 3 years or so before release. It's going to be the driest of our three lineup. It's going to have some good tannin structure. You're going to get some plummy notes. You'll still get the traditional, what I call that cherry, even sour cherry. Some even say dusty. And if you get a chance to taste it, I'd be curious if you get some of that dusty notes on it. It's very hard to describe, but it's when you see red fruit, but it's definitely dry. And of the lineup, not only does it have the red fruits, but you get some of the dark purple fruits in this one too. So some of that plumminess comes through in the Riserva. I would keep this one. Again, I would recommend if you already enjoy red wines quite a bit. If you're still, like I said earlier, kind of getting your feet wet, or your guests are getting their feet wet when it comes to red wine, stay over here. And if you know they love red wine and you're having, there's a very famous steak called Bistecca Florentina. And it looks like what we would call a giant porterhouse, and very simply prepared, usually just olive oil, salt and pepper. You don't want to put any marinade or seasoning on it. And it's grilled, and it's just one of the signature dishes of Florence. But so many of the Italian dishes are going to go with this. But I'd stick to the grilled meats, the grilled sausage, grilled lamb, again, the steaks. Something on the hearty side. So it's almost if you were thinking of, you'd want a substantial, say a $40+ Napa Valley Cabernet Sauvignon, something a little bit more structured, then maybe stick with the Chianti Riserva. But I think what was nice in today's episode, you saw that there's a range, not only in price, but again, I found this one to be not too expensive. Right around the $30 range, a little bit more than we like to spend for our channel. But as you can tell, there's a range on the appreciation of you or your guests when it comes to red wine, and also for the price. So 3 wines from Italy, all in the Chianti region, affordable food pairing gems. You can't go wrong. Enjoy. So as we've seen in this week's episode, the Chiantis today offer great value, excellent food pairings. I think wines that your friends, your guests are going to enjoy, and of course you will too. Everything from just an easygoing, pick it up, drink whenever you want Chianti, to, again, our best value, excellent wine, the Chianti Classico. So look for Chianti Classico, and something maybe for Saturday night, maybe even a good gift for someone. They like Italian wine, but maybe you don't want to spend the $55 or $75 or $150 on the Brunellos. The Chianti Reserve is a great option. So give that a try with your next big grilled steak dinner. Thank you for joining me in this week's episode, all on the Chianti. Please remember to subscribe, obviously, and let me know if you have questions or comments. Is there anything you'd like to see? There's a whole world of wine out there, and I'm glad we're exploring it together. Well, once again, all this talk about wine sure has made me thirsty. So until next time, cheers.